wonderful time of sharing with you. Every year at this time, we celebrate our founders, the Sisters of Charity, whose mission then and now is the education of the whole person in the spirit of St. Vincent de Paul and St. Francis Anne Seton. While those founding sisters are no longer with us, they left a mission that embraces the shaping of our world so that all can live in dignity. Of course, the times of the late 1800s and the beginning or the early 1900s had their own challenges, but the sisters saw that in those challenges there are graces and hope. Today, the mission of the Sisters of Charity is lived out at this college in our mission. This mission is passed on down to us. Everyone who enters the doors of the college, whether the front door or the side doors or the back doors, know that it is not just knowing the mission, but also living out the mission, and it means an embrace of the mission. We have with us today 3 speakers who will share with us how they see the mission of the Sisters of Charity lived out in this 21st century, a very different time from the time when the sisters began the college. And so we will begin. Dr. Susan Burns, president of our college, will share with us her perspective on the mission of the Sisters of Charity as it's lived out at this college. Although Dr. Burns has only been with us for a few months, I'm sure she has seen and felt and caught the spark and the fire of the mission and its spirit in all the people that she met. Our 2 panelists will be Wancho King Wancho, a student here at the college, and Dr. Peter Lucky. Wancho is vice president of the Student Government Association. He is also a researcher in the Fischlinger Center for Public Policy, and he is a representative with the Sisters of Charity Federation. Dr. Peter Lucky is associate professor in the mathematics department and chair of the department. So we welcome our 3 speakers, and we will begin with Dr. Burns. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you, Sister Eileen. Good afternoon. Happy Founders Day to you all here in person with us and online as well. It's a pleasure to have this time together in person and online to reflect how we have individually and collectively experienced and lived the mission of the College of Mount St. Vincent in times of challenge and hope. Before I jump into my experiences and observations in the time that I have got to know and become the love of the College of Mount St. Vincent, I want to first to acknowledge and thank the Sisters of Charity of New York, as Sister Eileen suggested, who we thought that we would be here today, celebrating 174 years together. Given the importance of the Sisters of Charity, I thought it would be worthwhile to take just a moment to, again, reflect upon their mission in a way that gives kind of a foreshadowing to the work and the mission of the College of Mount St. Vincent. Their mission of the Sisters, the mission of the Sisters of Charity, is to share in the ongoing mission of Jesus by responding to the signs of the times in the spirit of St. Vincent de Paul and St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, by revealing the Father's love in their lives and their varied ministries, with and for all in need, especially the poor. The congregation has a tagline. Their current tagline expresses the mission simply by stating they are called to living lives of love. Without these brave and pioneering women who decided that responding to the signs of the time included identifying education as one of their varied ministries, again, we wouldn't be here together today celebrating our college's mission. Recently, I had a meeting with Sister Donna Dodge, the president of the Order of the Sisters of Charity of New York, and she and I were having a conversation about the sponsorship covenant between the sisters and the College of Mount St. Vincent. This document is considered a formal statement of mutual engagement and support and accountability between the sisters and the college. It is meant to positive and collaborative relationships that we have between the sisters in the college. That covenant includes the Sisters of Charity's philosophy on education, which notes that their view of education impels them to inspire individuals to seek greater control over their lives, since informed choices are possible only by developing critical thinking and inner discipline. Additionally, this covenant notes that the college expresses its mission through the words on our shield, translated from Latin as teach me goodness, discipline, and knowledge. Which leads me to taking a moment that I think is really important for us to do, to share with you the College of Mount St. Vincent's mission. Founded by the Sisters of Charity of New York, the College of Mount St. Vincent is an academically excellent, authentically inclusive, independent liberal arts college, committed to Vincentian, Settonian tradition, and to ecumenism. The college combines a strong undergraduate core curriculum with a full array of majors in the liberal arts, and with a tradition of liberal education selected professional fields of study. The college also provides high-quality opportunities for professional advancement, accomplishment, and service through graduate and certificate programs. At Mount St. Vincent, the student's education extends beyond knowledge, skills, and preparation for work. We seek the development of the whole person. In the spirit of Vincent de Paul and Elizabeth Van Seton, we foster an understanding of our common humanity, a commitment to human dignity, and a full appreciation of our obligations to each other. What is there not to like in that mission statement, quite honestly? As I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you today, I thought it might be helpful to give a brief walk to the journey that led me to the College of Mount St. Vincent prior to becoming the college's sixth president. As I shared with others, I had not heard about the College of Mount St. Vincent until the president of the former institution I was at sent me an email that included a brief message. He said, "I'm not looking to get rid of you, and I'm not sure if you're looking, but I saw this position announcement, and I thought of you." Part of that position announcement included the Mounts mission. So I read it, and the mission drew me in. And then I clicked further and looked at the presidential prospectus, which included a section that discussed the ways in which the Mount lived the mission. I was further intrigued. And I should note that this outward-facing document was developed pre-pandemic, in times of hope, in times of looking forward to the future of this college, as you all look for your next leader. What did the Mount describe as living the mission? Well, it included things like being one of the most diverse colleges in the country. Nearly half of our undergraduate population are first in family to pursue higher education. The Mount community is proud of its role as an essential opportunity creator for students from underserved and underrepresented backgrounds. That section also included information about the Seton Service and Leadership Program, which offers scholarships to students with high academic profiles who have demonstrated an outstanding commitment to community service, living the mission. It shared information about the Mott Street Scholarship Program, which serves talented students who have persevered through foster care or homelessness, and who are educationally and emotionally ready for college, living our mission. It talked about making connections for students through the mentorship program, which pairs students with accomplished alumni, trustees, friends of college, to help undergraduates channel their passions and talents towards successfully planning and fulfilling their professional lives. And it went on to describe other offices and opportunities and ways in which the college meets learners when and where they need us in really meaningful ways. During the interview process, everything I read, all of the interactions I had, further brought that mission to life. Now, I do have to remind everyone, my entire eight-month interview process was done virtually. And one can think about that virtual process being very cold, kind of stale environment, or a very distant kind of, again, cold experience. And at the same time, because of the mission and values and commitment to community, I felt the mission coming to life through all of those interactions. Mission mattered in the decisions on whether or not I should travel to the Mount for an in-person interview, because you all were concerned about my health and safety, as well as being concerned about the health and safety of this community. The mission served as a guiding principle, balancing some of those operational decisions during the pandemic, as as well as strategic decisions looking to the future. Now, since I have arrived, I've experienced and been privileged to see the mission lived in so many different ways. And I'd like to share just a few beyond what I saw in that prospectus to begin with. When I arrived, we were planning for a spring semester. The careful concern for health and safety of our students and our community, that understanding of common humanity, commitment to human dignity, and full appreciation of our obligations to each other was also our mission in a time of challenge. I've done a series of listening sessions with trustees, faculty, staff, administrators, and students since I've been here as well. In every one of those listening sessions, I've heard various affirmations of our missions, various affirmations of our commitment to the holistic development of our students, to academic excellence, authentic inclusion, and so many other elements of our mission. And I again want to give you some examples. My faculty colleagues said during a listening session, the education we offer doesn't affect one person. It affects the family. It affects the community. Another faculty member said, students may think they want to study one thing, and then they realize along the way that they want to study something else, and we're here to support them. That's our mission. A staff colleague noted that it's important that we give all students all kinds of opportunities to grow as a person and help them accomplish what they want to do. That is our mission being lived. Another staff colleague stated, CMSB is known for quality and transformational learning experiences. Staff, faculty, and administrators have noted that the Mount provides experiential learning opportunities which provide that holistic development. Nearly every group has talked about the value of diversity in our community as one of our strongest attributes. Across all divisions and departments, people share that even though their program or department might not be perfect, they're committed to doing what is necessary to support our students to be better and to be successful. Staff have talked about the opportunities, desire to do cross-training so they can put the students at the center of the work they do and make sure that they are supported in the best way. Multiple colleagues have talked about the Mount having a history of people sticking around. Students apply for jobs here and they're successful in those jobs. Faculty, staff, and administrators come here thinking that they maybe will only stay a few years and have been here for multiple, many years. It's because I think of our mission and values. In conversations with students and employees, I've heard that service and giving back is a priority. Giving back to this community and giving to others is part of our mission. Beyond those listening sessions, I've witnessed near daily evidence of our community living the mission and values in the work that we do together. I've met with faculty senate, seeing and hearing their commitment to the mission and values of the work that they do as representatives of their respective areas is living our mission. I've seen responses from students and colleagues after I sent out the communication encouraging us to live our mission in support of the BIPOC and AAPI community members. And I've seen students and colleagues step forward to want to be a part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee that's living our mission. I've seen board of trustee members coming together, giving selflessly in their time, talent, and treasure to ensure that our current operations and future plans of the college are centered on mission. I've seen our senior administrative team keeping the students we serve the mission and values at the center of our conversations as we talk about what's happening now and what we can do in the future. I took part in a town hall facilitated by the Student Government Association, where we who were there witnessed our Mount students actively and effectively expressing their questions and concerns in a way that demonstrates the academically excellent education they are earning here at the Mount and their commitment to the mission and values of this institution. I've seen our student organizations and campus ministries separately and together plan for service opportunities that focus again on the support of others. That is living our mission and values. I've seen our athletic staff and coaches work tirelessly to support our student athletes and the opportunity to engage in their sport and engage with each other in a manner that is mindful of health and safety, living our mission and values. I've participated in several alumni events, virtual alumni events, and I've seen alums come together and ask, are we still living up to the mission and values of this institution, this place that they love so deeply? admissions and financial aid staff have set forward, offering countless creative virtual opportunities for prospective students, offering things like this week, our first time ever, a first-generation focused event to welcome them into our community. That's living our mission. I saw yesterday students present their research at the Humanities Undergraduate Symposium. At one point in time, there were, I think, over 60 participants engaging and watching students again present that work that they've done, that academically excellent work that they've done, and seeing the students, faculty, staff come together to support them. That's living our mission. I saw faculty at that event, and in so many other interactions, being with pride and joy as they see their students step up and step in to that academically excellent experience. Talking about how they look forward to these students becoming colleagues. That's living our mission. And just today, I witnessed students of the Investment Club present to the Investment Committee of the Board, talking about how they would like to invest funds available to them, keeping mission in mind, making investment decisions based upon the institution's mission. That's living our mission. I am so incredibly blessed as the president of this institution to have the responsibility to care and tend, to look to the future, to balance out the operations of today with mission and values in mind. These are just a few, really just a few, of the things that I've seen in the past, I think I'm at 104 days, you can count my numbers there. To be blessed to have served as the College of Mount St. Vincent's president, I'm confident that my panel colleagues can further affirm that there is so much more that I haven't seen, and so much more that I will see as the president, that are expressions of mission in this institution. So what does it mean to live our mission in times of challenge and hope? For me, our mission is our goal. Again, our mission is our goal in the times of challenge, but also in the times of success. As I look to the future post-pandemic, I'm confident that there will continue to be challenges. An institution doesn't exist for 174 years without experiencing some challenges. And I'm sure we'll experience challenges in the future. And I want to say again, thank you to the Sisters of Charity of New York for their fortitude in founding this institution and their many years of service and partnership to support this college. With our community's commitment to mission and values, the calling, the vocation of the College of Mount St. Vincent will sustain. And I'm filled with hope for the Mount today and into the future. Thank you.
I want to thank Matt for inviting me on behalf of the Mission Committee to speak here today. I found over the last year or more that I'm sort of prone to sort of feeling angry or anxious. So this was a nice exercise to reflect on. The future will be better than it is today. I just wanted to start with a little anecdote. So like Dr. Burns, I also had not heard of the College of Mount St. Vincent before I applied for a job here. But it actually turned out that I had. I just didn't know. So I'll speak a little bit about my mother's favorite poet, Malay. So she was born in Rockland, Maine. That's where I'm from. From Portland, Maine, but from Maine originally. She was born in Rockland, Maine in 1892, and she was born into humble family, so she was, her mom was a single mother at that time, so her house was low enough on the land in I guess it was the nearby town of Camden, so it was low enough on the land that the water would run into their house, and then during the winter, they could go ice skating in the ditch. So, that's a positive spin on probably not a great situation. But she was a very talented poet, and actually she did during a sort of poetry competition. The Dow family sort of recognized her talent and paid for her to go to Vassar College in 1913. She moved to New York City in 1917. She lived at 75 and a half Bedford Street, down in Village. She won the Pulitzer Prize for poetry in 1923, so one of the very first Pulitzer Prize winners. to read into that. But very nice poem. So yeah, so as a little girl, she called herself Vincent. And so it's sort of a strange, if you know the story already, you already know where it's going. I guess Vincent maybe is not such an unfamiliar name here. But her full name is St. Vincent Millay. And I didn't really make a connection to the college until like 2 or 3 years after joining the faculty. So her uncle was a stevedore here in the city, so he loaded and unloaded cargo from ships. And would travel a deck on one of those ships, and he didn't have anything to eat or drink for several days. So he was traveling for like 3 or 4 days, and almost died. So he very nearly died. And so who nursed him back to health? But the nurses and medical staff at St. Vincent's Hospital downtown, so founded by the Sisters of Charity. This is the Elizabeth Seton Hall building on 7th Avenue, 11th Street. I think the main, the hospital is now unfortunately closed, but the main building was on Greenwich Avenue and 7th Avenue. And so I bring this story up just that actually it turns out I got heard the college, I was aware of the Sisters of Charity, I guess, anyway. Even though I didn't know this was a story, the fact that her uncle had been saved was sort of a story that had been told to me as a kid, and I actually knew the people who had saved him. And so so I sort of also give this example because it's something that I'm just going to call a slogan. So of course, saving her uncle's life obviously had a huge impact on him. But I sort of wonder, the question that I sort of asked as I was writing this is how would my life be different if Millay's uncle had not been saved and he had died? Perhaps, also certainly Millay is probably not named St. Vincent Millay, but perhaps would not have learned a lesson that even though she came from a modest family, that her family and their lives were meaningful and important and worth saving. She may never become a poet. My mom may never have had this strong woman to look up to. Perhaps she would have been drawn to less academic subjects, and maybe I never would have been drawn into the academy itself. And so that to me is, the legacy of the Sisters of Charity is this slogan that there's something that moves through. Obviously there are acts that happen today, but the real power in it is that it sort of is transmitted through time. Acknowledging somebody else's, the value of their humanity is really important and is a gift to give to people. So here's another example. So from the New York Times, just over a year ago, we should all be more like the nuns in 1918. So here's another example of acknowledging people's humanity. So what happened in 1918? There was the Spanish flu of 1918. It was an extremely devastating flu. If you were to scale up to the population of today, it killed over 2 million Americans. And just think there's a chart, a math professor, I can't not a chart or some sort of math in this discussion, but here's a chart where this is the number of people per 100,000 who died from infectious disease. And so you can see over time there's a gradual decline. So 1900, 40 states have health departments, so health becomes something that the government is interested in. Around 1910, there's the first continuous municipal use of chlorine water in the U.S. And then you can see in 1918, there's this giant spike up. So this really was a devastating pandemic that we have not seen in the time since. So this massive spike. You can see like around 1925, the last human transmission of the plague, meaning the Black Plague, not plague, not gone on, and the first use of penicillin, the Salk vaccine introduced, passage of the Vaccination Assistance Act. But sort of this general trend downward, but I sort of give this chart just to demonstrate how bad this pandemic was in 1918. Truly devastating situation. I think it killed between 50 and 100 million people globally. It was a truly devastating plague. And sort of in a recent interview with NNY, Sister Margaret Donegan of the Sisters of Charity reported that in 1918, 14 Sisters of Charity went to Shamokin, Pennsylvania. So State. Yeah, I also sort of wonder, I mean, in that scenario, the amendment to give women the right to vote is shortly after this, and I do sort of wonder, acts like this, it's hard to deny somebody the right to vote when they have the courage to go into such a dangerous situation. I'm not a historian, so I don't know to what extent that's true, but it's hard not to acknowledge that. All right, so what is the slogan here at the College of Mount St. Vincent? So one of my favorite things that I learned here is the secret faculty motto, as told by Dave Gallo, which is to teach the students in front of you. So not the idealized student that has unlimited resources, they're only taking your class, they understand the ins and outs of college, they have the best possible background in the course material. Teach the students in front of you. So students that are first generation students, they don't really know what's going on. They have no experience to it. They're the first in their family to speak English. They're often navigating the financial aid situation on their own. They're often working full-time or part-time. You hear these, to them it's sort of normal. Like it's not, they won't even mention that, oh yeah, the reason that I missed class this week was because my sister's working full-time and her daughter is in kindergarten and all the classrooms are closed, all the schools are closed, so I can take care of her. Those are the students that we have. And so you need to acknowledge that that's the situation that we're in. And acknowledge that their struggle is a real one. Right, so I can teach my students to write code in Python. This is an incredibly valuable skill that helps them get good jobs. It enables them to solve all kinds of problems. They learn abstract thinking skill, critical thinking skill, problem solving skills of all kinds. Right, they learn knowledge, right? They really learn some tremendously empowering knowledge. Right, I can also model hard work. I can challenge my students in class. I can make sure that they work to the maximum ability that they have. Right, I can teach them discipline. And that's also a valuable skill. That's, workplaces are looking for that too. Right, but if they don't also learn to be good, that slogan doesn't go beyond that. That's where it ends. Right, so that's what I find so powerful about the mission of the college is its focus on our common humanity and acknowledgement of each other. We're teaching the whole person, not just the mind, not just the mental, but your spirit as well. And I find that this focus on our common humanity, it provides the college this potential to sort of connect this distant past and far future. So, millennia to the present. Right, I've spoken now at several alumni events. Mostly, the college was all women until right around 1970. So most of the alumni that are present are women, and I hear some of the stories that they were executives at IBM. This would have been at a time when IBM was synonymous with the computer. They were the computer. They would have been executives at IBM in the 60s. So they were at a time when women were not really allowed into that kind of field, into those sorts of positions. So but I think about my students today, and 50 years from now, they might be going to their reunion, and they'll be experiencing the same thing. The doors were open for them, and then they'll want to give back to the next generation of students after them, or 3 generations after them. So I'll just finish with this other anecdote. So Christopher Wren was an astronomer, he's an architect. He sort of rebuilt London after the Great Fire in 1666. So he was the architect of St. Paul's Cathedral, which is sort of the biggest cathedral in London, but he rebuilt the whole mess of them in London. And he's buried in the basement of St. Paul's Cathedral, and on his tomb is this phrase, which I'm not a Latin speaker, so I apologize if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, but lector si monumentum requiris circumspice. Although if you ask Google Translate, it says that should be circumspice. But it says, reader, if you seek a monument, look around. And so, of course, this is written by Christopher Wren's son. And I've he's either talking about the building, St. Paul's Cathedral itself is the monument that you're looking for, or perhaps it's the City of London. Since it's a charity, you've also built a monument, and it is you, the students, who are the monument. You are the shining light as the example to the next generations. And yeah, if you ever need to look for monuments, just look around. So yeah, thank you for.
Hi, how are you? It is a tremendous privilege to be here and to speak on this podium, especially when we have our president and also our professor. So I'm humbled by the opportunity to be able to speak on behalf of the Student Government Association, on behalf of myself, my journey at and it's a very humbling experience. First, I want to appreciate my chief for providing me this space and platform. I remember exactly it was February 16, 2018. I was at home in Liberia. For those that don't know Liberia is located on the west coast of Africa. It's bordered by Guinea, Sierra Leone, and the Atlantic Ocean. It is an interesting space, and West Africa is also a very interesting part of Africa as a continent. In the midst of shambles of poverty, lasting challenges from conflicts and disease, most notably the Ebola outbreak that we just had. It was in this moment that I created the aspiration to fight for better education, to create in myself a view of common humanity, like Professor Guti and Dr. Susan said, and also to be able to be here. And I remember that it was one of the admission counselors by the name of Benjamin Dobbs. Benjamin Dobbs sent me an email saying congratulations to your admission at the College of Arts and Medicine class of 2022. And the feeling of being part of that class and being part of the month is echoed from the perspective of the unique history of the month. And that has to do with service, most notably the Sister of Charity Federation, and that has to do with past alumni, like the 11th President of the Philippines, and that has to do with several other students who have the dream aspiration of being who they want to be in society. And I just want to be able to share a bit of what I'm the youth rep of the Sister of Charity Federation. I am the Vice President for Club Relations at the Student Government Association. I'm in the honors program, double major in public policy and criminology, which is a subset of sociology. And on a regular, you usually would be at the UN. Also on a regular, I also be student government. My interest basically found in fighting for the common world, fighting for justice and equality. Being able to stand for women to have their right, parity, equality, and climate change, of course, and environmental justice. And it's really how me as an international student, I feel so blessed by the kind of support I receive, especially from professors. Sometimes about being in class, asking tough questions, challenging perspective. Sometimes I was staying after class having a conversation with almost all of my professors. And what I do find is their patience and perseverance to be able to dialogue with students to find a common ground in difference. And that's how the mind is, and that's how every aspect of our college has been shaped. Last semester, or last year, I was awarded the Basin before the war, basically because of my work for ensuring systemic change and student consciousness at and as I ponder on the road of Basin Nepal and how unique he is with the college, I also think about where I stay currently. So currently, I stay in Maryland, and Maryland is also very unique to the history of variety of privilege. And those are the kind of values of unique service that the Sister of Charity Federation will build. At the UN, as a youth rep for the Sister of Charity Federation, there is a most time standing up against that press conflicts, standing up to provide perspective of the values and the unique views and unique services of the Sister of Charity Federation. I remember at some point in time we had a conversation on a group basically on homelessness. And as we spoke about developing a concept of what homelessness means, I remember how very unique the Sister of Charity Federation has been in New York with the fight against homelessness. And Dr. Myers spoke about the mock program that we have here at the They just show how very our entire parish is able to be able to serve, be able to support, and be able to stand up. Even though we have our unique challenges, but our challenges does not really override the kind of impact that this parish has stand for within the years and decades of establishment. An interesting part I would be able to say is this parish was established in 1847. My country gained its independence in 1847. And politically, our country came from the stage of the slave trading in the U.S. If you read there's a colonization funded for the American Colonization Society. It was founded in Washington, D.C. by patrons like Elijah Howard, Bush of Washington. And their view was to be able to repatriate Africans back to their original homeland where they were taken before doing the transatlantic slave trade. And that's how, free slaves from the U.S. came out and they repatriated back to Africa and they formed a country called Liberia, which is a free land. And if you read our seal, it said the law for liberty brought us here, which means slaves who left because of torrent slave trade, torrent injustice, came back to a land where they called their home, their former place, and lived happily without having a fear of being tortured by another person. And these sisters all stand up to make the emancipation of being an imam. And every day at the Student Government Association, what we do is to be able to stand up for these values. I remember doing the George Floyd case, the Ghana and the Ahmaud case. We formulated a whole discourse called the Work Against Racism by the campus ministry, the Sister of Charity Federation. Students and our class stood up, took on the discourse stage, and they were able to stand up and say, yeah, we're going to show that Adamant needed equality, solidarity, and we want to stand up for existence. And also, in times where there was an increasing environmental injustice, we created a whole event called the Work Out for Climate Change, and we saw students with different views and perspectives stand up for environmental justice. Last year also, I did a program called Fiscal Sustainability when it up to us. And what it very means is that ensuring students can be futuristic about their desire of fiscal change. And we saw students very standing up for fiscal sustainability, that their future and the future of the next generation can be saved and can be able to stand up for a specific cause. And when we talk about living our nation, these are just my reflection of how I see myself how I see myself in the next years to come. And I'm really extremely grateful for the privilege and support I receive right now, and especially coming from a land of challenges, of poverty, on the shackles, and being here, being quoted from them, going to school at the mom, being supported, and being able to express a leadership attribute. And I feel very honored, and that's the nation we're living, and I just want to be grateful for this privilege. I will have to beg Father to be able to leave because we have a next year again coordinated. But I just want to thank you so much, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Now time open for comments, questions, and maybe if any of the speakers want to ask a question or comment on each other, you're certainly free to do that. But please feel free with comments or questions that you may have to any of the speakers. If you're referring to one, just mention the name. Yeah. Don't be shy or anything.
I just have a quick comment. We just had a general faculty meeting the other day, and I've known Peter since I started here about 4 years ago. He's always been more than inviting, and not just for me, but for students as well. You know, since I've known Peter, he's gone to basketball and volleyball games with students, and he was talking at our meeting about the faculty liaisonships with different sports programs on campus. And so, Peter, you're someone I feel who really embodies that idea of sort of slow change. And our students really appreciate that.
I think it is a big, I mean, yeah, you don't have to go to one student sport to know what kind of impact that has. It really is, yeah, the students that participate in sports especially they're very passionate about it. I mean, if you're here in a Division III program, you're not playing because you're hoping to get a big contract at the end, right? You're playing because you love your teammates, you like to play, you like to compete. So having the professors sort of go to that, I think is, yeah, I mean, it's nice to be acknowledged in that way.
Yes, I would ask this question to any of you. As we look at our world today, and we certainly have many challenges out there, but we could get very depressed if we just focused on, you might say, the bad, the evil that we see. So what would you say is an area that we need to focus on, or where do we need, what would you say, where we should put our concentration, or as we look at our 21st century going down the line, you know, we have so much discrimination, we have so much violence, we talk about common humanity, and we're not, you know, so much of what I see out there coming from educated people. So what is it that we're not doing, or not saying, or not emphasizing in our educational programs, so that, you know, we can, you know, we're all universities and colleges, especially our Catholic colleges and universities, are talking about, you know, common humanity, and talking about making the world a better place. And I guess we could get very discouraged when we look at, you know, how better is it from year to year. So what is it that we need to focus on? What do we need to emphasize more? I guess that's the big question I'm throwing out there, but
What are you doing for the next 2 hours? I think that it could be so very easy for us to be depressed by the happenings in the world today. Quite honestly, though, I am optimistic, and I find hope in the interactions that I've had with you, with those of you who are online as well, because there is a commitment to the Catholic intellectual tradition, a commitment to faith and reason, the different ways of knowing, the different ways of understanding. Our students are being educated with a grounding in the ability to address complex problems. And it's not that the world having complex problems is a new thing. That's something that we've experienced in the entirety of humanity. It is that in this moment we are seeing people not thinking differently, not being willing to embrace faith and reason, not being willing to listen to each other, to honor the dignity as you're having a discussion about the ways in which you may disagree. And I find great hope in the education that the College of Mount St. Vincent offers. I find great hope in seeing our students show up again and participate in these meaningful conversations, and encouraging us to have these meaningful conversations. And so, whereas it would be easy to be discouraged, I really sincerely find hope. And I think that in so many ways, the Mount can be leaders in this space, because what we are doing here with the students, with our colleagues, with whom we are working together to educate this next generation of students, we're doing good. And that's what really, for me, allows me to focus on the hope rather than the despair, quite honestly.
Yeah, parallels there are between today and that time period. I mean, there were people calling out, women were calling out for the right to vote. There's the new nativist movement, or the nativist movement in the 1920s, sort of, blaming all of society, America's ills on immigrants from Italy and Ireland, many of whom are, became the sort of Catholic Church in the United States. Democracy, very shortly after that time period, came under assault and a sort of rise in fascism and populism in Europe and in the U.S., honestly. Just sort of thinking about it, the Sisters of Charity still fought against that and are still here. I mean, that to me that was the part of it that was, the nice part of the exercise was that we got through it before, we can get through it again. Hopefully, there were some very dark times in the 1940s, so hopefully we can get through it without experiencing something like that. But I think we just, we have to continue to be an institution against all those things. Against the nativist movement is like America for Americans, basically. People, and many of the same parallels. I just sort of saw the same parallels in a lot of the history of the Spanish flu in that time period. And sort of if we model ourselves after their model, I think we can get through it again.
I would say there are many colleges and universities who are abandoning their commitment to the liberal arts, who are abandoning their commitment to their Catholicity, their Catholic intellectual tradition, and really, for us to continue to embrace our mission is how we're going to find success moving forward.
A lot of universities, they build walls. If you look at Columbia or Washington, St. Louis, or Cornell, I mean, they sort of espouse, the professors are sort of espouse these, nice ideals, but the universities are sort of run like businesses, and they separate themselves as much as possible, to the maximum extent possible from the community, unless even I did my PhD at Cornell, there was like a road that the bus would go out to go from near my apartment to campus, and it was just in total disrepair because the city, the town of Ithaca and the Cornell University couldn't agree on whose responsibility it was to pay for it. But it's all Cornell University students using this road. This is like the front. And Cornell, I don't know how many billions of dollars they have, but fixing a road is certainly within their capacity. So I think it's good to engage with the community around you rather than sort of close the doors and let everybody else figure things out. Let the community around the university sort of follow into the game.
Did you one of the students?
I was thinking about your idea of the slow good, and I like it. I guess. I guess my question is, how important is it to recognize something like that? Right. So to understand that that's what's going on for its perpetuation. Right. I mean, I'm thinking about my students, who a lot of times I don't think their view of themselves matches who they are. They're far better morally as people than they think they are. They're far more capable intellectually than they think they are, right? They hesitate a lot more, right? I don't know. There's something about the identity that they've already partially taken on and are going to take on that they don't feel at home in, or that it doesn't seem like them yet. How important is it to recognize this? I mean, is the slow good just something that gets kind of unthematized, unthought about, passed on? Or is this something that has to be recognized?
That's a good question. I agree that our students often sell themselves short. That's the common theme among even really strong students. They still don't think they're as good as they think they are, or as they are. I think it's important. It's one thing to sort of act something out, it's a different experience to sort of acknowledge that it's important to do. Don't use your powers for good, basically. Don't take skills that you develop and just use it for your own self-gain. I mean, some self-gain is not a bad thing, but sort of using it to, maximize your profit and externalize costs as much as possible. I think it's, I think to some extent it is important. I mean, it is, but it's good. That's a good question. I have to think about it a little bit more. To what extent it's important to acknowledge that it's,
I would say, I absolutely agree, it's important to acknowledge it. It's one of the reasons why I love the opportunity for students to be mentored by alums or by trustees or by friends of the college. It's one of the reasons why in all of these different alumni events that I've kind of been seeing them so committed to this institution and really reflecting upon the benefit that they gain from that institution. That's why I think, again, it takes time, and we can see it. We can see it generationally as members of this community. But finding ways for current students to, first-year students to connect with seniors, to connect with alums, to connect with people who've stuck around, I think really is a way to help people who have just entered the community to really see their investment of time and energy into this institution has great value, because it will give and give and give again to them, and to their families, and to their communities as well.
Thank you, you mentioned before, Dr. Burns, about the liberal arts program and connections. I think sometimes we disconnect areas. Many times when I'm teaching, just this, can be courses, that there are other areas of problems besides religion. There's always another area, it's either the economic or the political or the social. And we have such a disconnect in our society today. And so we've got to me, that's a weakness. We have to, bring them together. And I'm talking about, we see them among our political leaders. We see it sometimes among our religious leaders. And so, how do we make sure that, I think our young people see it a bit more clearer than some of our well-educated people. So to me, that is vital in college. It's wholesome, it's healthy, and it's going to help young people as they move out into their careers.
Absolutely, and I think one of the ways that we continue to build on this very in our math classes, ask about what you're learning in your philosophy class, or what you're learning in your education class, or whatever. Having the students draw those connections together is very important, and the beauty of our community as well is that the fact we spend time together. Again, a little bit more challenging during a pandemic than outside of a pandemic. But I think that there's a value of each other's disciplines, of each other's pedagogy, of each other's desire to holistically develop students. And I would say students, ask those questions in your religious studies class about a topic that's in economics. And ask for those kind of challenge us to think in those complex ways. And where we don't have answers, the beauty of this community is that we will help you find them, and we'll find them together, because people see each other as resources for understanding. And that commitment to being a community of learners, I think, is part of that journey together disciplines in ways that are so important, especially now.
I guess I see one of the ways is that we have to ask ourselves and our students the questions that are going to connect us to the virtues that both of you spoke about. So if you're saying the nuns were so brave who went to Shamokin, well, what have you done this year that has been brave, that carries on that goodness? What have you done this year? So that it's connecting the heroes or the heroines or the people of the past and what we admire. from them. But looking at our own lives and in this time, in this place, what do we do and how do we do it? And asking those kind of reflective questions that sometimes we don't ask ourselves. We look at these other people and say, aren't they great? How do I do this now? And how do we do this now?
Any comments from our students? Love to hear from you. And welcome, Father Chris. Okay, I want to thank Dr. Burns, thank you, Dr. Lucky, wonderful, insightful, challenging, and gives us encouragement as we move on, not to think about ourselves. That will plan other panels and other conversations like this, so we hope that this will be ongoing. Thank you again for your time, and thank you to our faculty, our students, and Bobby for finding the video, and Mary Ann, and thank you. So we look forward to seeing you again soon.